I'll crack onto it. Wave OMS is, as I mentioned, warehouse management system with a really fantastic, highly efficient pick, store, pack, ship system. The product we have is Wave OMS, but actually only recently we launched a lower tier product called Wave Retail, specifically for retailers who don't need a full warehouse management system functionality, or indeed need the sort function, but very much still have the same overhead and the same issues picking from the shop floor relative to paperwork accuracy, staff dependency, etc. What we typically see in a business that we go into, it's typically a very manual process, right? Every order is manually, and it's paper-based, and it's printed out in an A4 sheet. The pick lists are printed one order at a time. You typically pre-print the shipping labels, or you print the shipping labels manually at the time of order completion, and then you have to match with the orders. There's an extended onboard for new hires. If you have a very manual process, by definition, it means that it's actually challenging for a new hire to step into that process, and particularly with paperwork involved. And it's heavy management oversight. You don't necessarily know where you are relative to the volume of orders that need to go out the door that day versus the performance of the warehouse. What type of pain that delivers? Paper is risky. It's not efficient. If you require 2 people in the warehouse to send out 50, 100 orders a day, well then, by definition, you need to double that for 200 orders and triple that, et cetera, et cetera. So from a cost standpoint, from a P&L standpoint, you have a linear equation there, which means that your percentage of overhead relative to getting orders out the door is going to basically grow in line with the business, which it shouldn't. It should become more efficient the more product you run through. Missed picks, wrong product to customer. If you've got a 1% missed pick rate on 100 orders, that's 1 order a day, 50 euros an order, 250 hours a week. That's part of, 14, 15 grand a year for 1%, 1 order, which you have to rectify. You have to prepare your relationship with the customer. You have to spend costs in getting that product back and getting that product back out. Staff knowledge required. If you're a manual operation where you're working on paper and you're dependent on people, well, then you cannot go for a cruise on the Shannon together, because if the boat goes down, your business is screwed. There's no audit trail, no accountability. So who has done what when? We have seen operations where an order is put through, they keep the sheets, they write the name on the sheet. Very often, if they're picking a product, the picker will give a piece of paper to the packer, and there's red marks on. The packer will double check that with a blue ink, and that will go into the box as verification that the quality assurance has been done. When I order and I see that coming through, I basically kind of go, there we go, that's a leave for me. Difficult to scale for peak periods. Peak periods, we all experience them. Typically in the retail sector, it's Q4. But ultimately, if you have a very manual process where it's very risky across paper, it's going to be incredibly difficult to come in where your volume increases by 2 or 3-fold within that period. And therefore, by definition, your warehouse becomes a bottleneck for growth. When really, we're all small businesses. We need to be concentrating on acquisition, getting the best out of Klaviyo, getting the best out of Shopbox, really, driving the business growth without having to worry, will my warehouse be able to handle it on that? Luckily, there is a solution. It's basically the Wave way. So Wave, as I mentioned, is a warehouse management system with a really cool pick, sort, pack, and ship. What we do is we attach ourselves very seamlessly onto the Magico platform. We download all orders in real time. We deconstruct the orders into a real-time pick list. So a Wave warehouse is a product-driven warehouse. It's not an order-driven warehouse. So for example, if you have 100 orders in your warehouse, and let's say 5 of them require some type of gadget, on an order-by-order basis, you're having to go back to that location 5 times. In our process, as that's deconstructed into real-time pick list, you go to look at, the scanner will say, go to location, or indeed just go to the shelf and pick 5 of those. So we bring the product back into warehouse, into operations, so it's worked on, and you're not walking back and forth to the shelves wasting your time. And equally, as your volume grows, as it gets to 150, 200, 300 orders, well then going back to the shelf 10 times to get the same item is incredibly inefficient. So we bring everything together, and we've got a really cool process where we sort it out. You basically pick up an item, you scan it, and it will say that's a single line order, straight to the packing bench, or that's part of a multi-line order, put that in a put wall in box B101, and order will be continually added to later on. And then once that is finished, it's automatically released to the packer. We've got a very sophisticated order processing and shipping rules. We have 14 couriers bolted into it, including collection, grab same day if you're Dublin, and we're adding more Royal Mail for the UK, Parcel Force, etc., etc. But the order processing rules really is where it comes into its own. No operations is exactly the same. Everybody has different requirements. So, for example, in a manual, some businesses think they can't necessarily get away from the manual operations because they have operations that are specific to them. So, for example, personalization, packing standards, etc. We have really cool rules where if an order drops into the system and if an order contains XQ, then you can do something with it. You can put it on hold if you need to review it by somebody else. You can add another product if you want to give a free sample to it, and that just comes into the workflow. You can create an order note, an order comment as an instruction to the packer, which we're just launching a soup business, and they require alterations. So the alteration will go into the comment box. That will come into us. If the comment box contains an alteration, well, then a note will come out as part of the order to say, yeah, you've just packed the order. Here's the tracker label, but here's a box actually with the alteration. So the packer knows where to process that across. So we have seen a significant amount of scenarios in our travels, and we've got an awful lot of rules, which we believe covers most business scenarios. And if it doesn't, we just add them. And equally, a wave warehouse is one where there's no decision-making required on the warehouse floor, either by the picker or the packer. It's literally pick up a scanner. This is the work you have to do. You have to pick X, Y, Z, and then the dashboard supports that to say, how much picking is left, how many orders gone through, how many orders have to be processed today, etc. So a full, transparent warehouse, systemically driven, highly efficient, with no decision-making required at the warehouse floor, whether from a picking side or whether from a packer who might decide to send an order with DHL, even though it's only worth a $5 versus on post, etc. It's all automatic based on your shipping engine and your rules. So the benefits, which I think I've talked a lot to, are far to maximum efficiency. We up to 70% cost reduction, 100% order accuracy. Last year, all the customers sent out just shy of 1.3 million orders. This year, we expect to be about 2.6 million orders, and they will all be 100% accurate. Zero paper. It's phenomenal for staff retention in the warehouse. It's increasingly difficult to get resources who want to work in a warehouse. But if your operations offer a space whereby you're not going to be walking back and forth to the bin 40, 50 times a day, you bring all your products to the same location and you work and operate from that. It's a much more attractive environment for warehouse staff. Easy implementation. One of our most recent customers, actually, we just signed up Louis Copeland just on Tuesday gone. They'll be implemented this Tuesday. So it's actually very, very simple. And indeed, with the Magico platform, those tracks have been built to our existing customers. So it's a very, very well-beaten, well-defined path. It encourages business growth, because no longer do you need to liaise with your warehouse to say, guys, I want to do an offer tomorrow. Can we get somebody else in? Who's ready to jump in and help us? Literally, the more volume you do it, the more efficient you get. Because when you're going to a location on Monday to pick 5 of those, and the following Monday you have to pick 10, it's a single pick. But you're just bringing, instead of 5, you're bringing 10 back. So your cost equation relative to P&L and the operation of it, the busier you get, the more efficient this gets from a cost per order output. And then again, through the dashboard, you know exactly how many orders to go through, how many picks to left, and who has done what. How much picking, how much packing, how much goods in, if it's warehouse side, has a warehouse operative contributed to the day. From implementation, we typically very often review customers. We look at their operational requirements. We look at the different scenarios that could be unique to that business, and we take them through the rule set to help to govern that. Again, as mentioned, we have very fast implementation, very, very simple plug and play with a well-beaten path with AV Commerce. And again, we have multiple shipment carriers, which is an important one because very often some environments are tied to the carrier that they have, 1 or 2 carriers, where we've had businesses that immediately they plug this in, you can launch 14 carriers. So you can start to play them off against each other, knowing that all you need is a username and password, set up the rule, and bang, away you go. That's just some of the customers we have. We've from all sectors. The unique thing the common thread between them all, they're all picking on paper. They're all throwing loads of costs at doing it. They all had a mispick rate. The accuracy wasn't great, and they really had a horrible time coming peak come in the peak period. That's it, really kind of short and sweet. Any questions, or indeed, we actually, Colm and I, Colm is our head of sales, which Colm's there, just the very back. We actually brought a mini warehouse with us. So we have shelves, we have put boxes, we have a label printer. If you actually want to see the process in play relative to picking, come on over and I'll show it to you. Great.